Chapter 3, Getting Closer, Part 2. You seem absent-minded today, Xiang Heng remarked while discussing a tricky case. Yichen calmly looked up at him. I think my proposal is good. It is good. Not just good, it's excellent, but you're still absent-minded. All right. Yichen put down his pen. What do you want to ask? Xiang Heng smiled, rarely seeing him lose his composure. Our junior Zhao has returned. Yichen raised an eyebrow. How do you know? Was his unusual behavior that obvious? I saw her downstairs the other day. Xiang Heng cleared his confusion. She seems different. Yes, she was indeed different. Yichen fell silent. Just then, Lao Yuan burst into the room and exclaimed, Hey, the people from the union invited us for dinner. You guys have to come with me. The union law firm and Yuan Xianghe's law firm were both among the top 4 law firms in a city. Although they were rivals in court, they got along quite well privately. This time, Lao Yuan did them a favor, so they were invited to a feast at the Yue building. Speaking of the union group, they were not well-intentioned. Everyone knew that the fierce rose of the union, Su Paili, had a thing for Yuan Xianghe's Yichen. Bringing them together was clearly setting the stage for some entertainment. Su Paili excelled at attacking, while Yichen's defense was impenetrable. It was foreseeable that tonight's dinner would be lively and amusing. Lao Yuan was already looking forward to it. The Yue building was located in the most prosperous area of the city. With the night descending and neon lights lighting up the city, the wine flowed freely. Lao Yuan and the union lawyers were all skilled at banter, creating a lively and noisy atmosphere. Xiang Heng sat by the window, listening to their chatter, but his eyes involuntarily glanced outside. The city's night was adorned with lights and neon signs, with the bustling crowd weaving and moving on the wide streets. Wait, is that? Lao Xiang, why are you quiet and looking at something? Lawyer Li leaned over and followed his gaze down. On the opposite street, there was a woman holding a camera, her hair neither long nor short, wearing a loose light blue shirt, jeans, and carrying 2 or 3 cameras of different sizes. Lawyer Li said with interest. They couldn't see her face clearly, but she seemed like a student. She wasn't his type at all. Xiang Heng turned his head and saw Su Paili persistently pursuing Yichen, who politely responded. If she were added to the mix, it would be fun. Yichen. Xiang Heng caught his attention and pointed towards the window. None. Everyone turned to look outside, but what were they looking at? Everyone seemed puzzled. At first glance, Yichen spotted Zhao and Mosheng among the crowd, adjusting her angle to take photos. He put down his wine glass. I'll go out for a moment. Everyone except Xiang Heng was leaning against the glass window. They watched as Yichen's tall figure quickly crossed the road and stopped a few steps away from an unfamiliar woman. He just stood there, quietly observing without disturbing her. The woman seemed oblivious, and after finishing taking photos, she turned around. Aw. It's a pity. She had her back to them, so they couldn't see her expression. Then the two of them exchanged a few words. And everyone's jaws almost dropped. Yichen. Him. Did he actually grab her hand so forcefully? Yichen. The man who always seemed indifferent to women, could he be so intense in his actions? It's impossible. Everyone sympathetically looked at the only woman present, Su Paili, whose face had already turned ugly. That's right. They originally thought that Yichen's distance from women was due to his cold and aloof nature, but it turns out that when necessary, he could be so passionate. This is really a blow to women's self-esteem. Although Su Pailei's sharp tongue often irritated them, she was still a colleague in the same law firm, and they had a certain camaraderie. Plump lawyer Zhang asked, probing for information, Lao Xiang, who is she? Xiang Heng's expression was somewhat inscrutable. Why are you asking me? You should ask Yichen. Lawyer courteously responded, I dare not expect to get anything out of Yichen's mouth. Xiang Heng smiled and said, his coat is still here. He has to come back to get it. Sure enough, after a while, Yichen came back and apologetically said, Lao Li, I have something to attend to. Lao Li was the host of the dinner tonight. Before Lao Li could say anything, Xiang Heng spoke first. You leaving like this is a bit disrespectful. Why not call Zhao Mosheng to join us? It's been years since I last saw her. Then he turned to Lao Li, do you mind having more people? Lao Li nodded quickly, of course, bring your companions along. Yichen hesitated. Su Pailei interjected sarcastically, lawyer he sneaks around when he's getting a girlfriend. Does he find it embarrassing to be seen with one? Mosheng, who was still on the sidewalk across the street, was in a daze. What kind of relationship did she and Yichen have? They weren't quite friends, not exactly lovers. She hadn't figured out a proper label. Just as she was lost in thought, her phone rang, and it was Yichen. I can't get away. Oh, that's good, Mosheng sighed in relief. You come over. The call ended. Mosheng didn't even get a chance to discuss it with him. She glanced at Dua building, collected her things, and crossed the street. Yichen met her at the entrance, and Mosheng hesitated. Isn't it appropriate for me to go in? Yichen said casually, we're with colleagues, it's fine. But what identity should she appear with? She swallowed the words. These days, Yichen occasionally sought her out, but he deliberately kept his distance. Even this limited contact made her uneasy. She shouldn't be like this, she should keep her distance from him. As they approached, everyone looked at Mosheng unceremoniously. She was good-looking, dressed casually, with slightly shorter hair that lacked some elegance. Compared to the women around Yichen, she seemed ordinary. Xiang Heng was the first to greet her. Zhao Mosheng, you're back so soon. I thought you were going to make Yichen suffer in solitude for 18 years. It veiled with a touch of sarcasm. What else could Mosheng say? She said the usual, Brother Xiang, long time no see. Don't call me brother. But it has indeed been a long time. Xiang Heng smiled, but his smile was enigmatic. Yichen briefly introduced her, and as soon as Mosheng sat down, the beautiful female lawyer started attacking her unceremoniously. Miss Xiao, I heard that Yichen is notoriously difficult to deal with. What method did you use to win him over? It wasn't heard, it was from experience. Silence filled the dining table. Xiang Heng almost choked on his tea from laughter. This Su Pailei. She malice, it was just her straightforward nature from hanging out with a group of men. If she could openly criticize judges in court, how could they expect her to be subtle in conversation? Her question today was already polite for her, but Mosheng had never encountered this kind of situation and was afraid she couldn't handle it. Just help her. He noticed that Yichen was watching the scene with an indifferent look. Xiang Heng decided not to say anything. She's someone else's girlfriend, why would anyone care about her feelings? Why should he bother? Momentarily stunned but quickly understood the situation. Seeing everyone's silence, she felt apologetic, thinking that her arrival had soured the atmosphere. She had no idea that these people were just excitedly waiting for a show. So she said, actually, Yichen is quite easy to win over. Summarizing her past experience, the key is to be shameless and persistently chase after him, cry, throw tantrums, and threaten to hang yourself until he surrenders. Everyone couldn't believe what they were hearing from Yichen. He actually liked this kind of approach. Su Piley glared at her disapprovingly. Don't you think it's very undignified for a woman to do that? I didn't think about it at the time. Mosheng smiled. Men in this way, how much affection can they have for you? Without truly understanding each other's souls, he will get tired of you one day and leave you. Su Piley was being very aggressive. Lao Yuan, who hadn't spoken all this time, suddenly exclaimed, interrupting Su Piley's attack. He excitedly stared at Mosheng. I remember now. You're the woman who dumped Yichen and went to the United States, aren't you? What? Except for Xiangheng and Yichen, everyone couldn't believe their eyes. She, Mosheng, dumped Yichen. Mo dumbfounded. She dumped Yichen. Where did this come from? And why did this burly man's eyes look so admiring? No. It. Lao Yuan used a roundabout tactic. Did you go to the United States? Yeah. Were you for? Yes. That's it. Lao Yuan's clap was like a judge's gavel. The verdict was pronounced. Found it. Were all lawyers this ruthless, disregarding human life like this? She explained, but Yichen pulled her up. Sorry, we'll. And everyone watched them leave in a daze. As they stepped out of Dua Building's entrance, the cold wind blew, and Mosheng's thoughts finally cleared a bit. Looking at the person walking ahead, she couldn't help but ask, Yichen, why didn't you say anything? They said that I dumped you. But that's not the case. Why didn't you explain? How could the proud Yichen endure such a misunderstanding? What? Yichen's figure stopped, his tall and broad back looking so lonely at that moment. His voice was tinged with bitterness, clear in the night wind. Even I believe that.